Hey everyone, Teammates Travels here. I'm Mac.
And I'm T. Today we're going to be talking about 10 things we wish we would have known before our first Carnival cruise.
Stay tuned. So, quick disclaimer.
We really did enjoy ourselves on our Carnival cruise. We had a lot of time to spend with one another doing something different and relaxing and everything. But this video is not bashing the Carnival cruise. It's just a couple of things that we wish we would have known. So point number 1, the food really isn't that great. Before the cruise, we thought that we'd be eating really good food all the time, gain 10 pounds, and enjoy it. However, the food just tasted really overly processed, and you could totally tell that it was mass produced. It kind of tasted like it was coming from a really cheap buffet, so that was really disappointing.
And there was no difference between the buffet style food stations from the, I guess you could say, higher end restaurant or the restaurants where you actually sit down and have eating time. There was no difference in the quality of food, even though you would think there would be. So overall, the food just was not good. Point number 2.
There isn't much to do besides drink and party. This cruise is definitely tailored to a younger crowd, like your 18 to 21 spring breaker. We did know that this was considered a fun cruise, but by that we thought that there was a lot of fun activities. Our favorite thing was probably the Harry Potter trivia. Other than that, we don't club and we don't drink, and it just seemed like that was pretty much all they had to offer. Point number 3.
Stateroom was not as small as we thought, but the sofa was really uncomfortable. So, looking at, I guess, pictures and everything that we read online, I believe the room that we had was like the ocean view room. So it wasn't the bottom tier, it wasn't the highest, but it was like middle tier sort of stateroom. But it was actually a lot larger than we thought. But the sofa was completely uncomfortable. It was like a piece of foam that they just had on a wooden structure. No way you would be able to sit down for an extended period of time or lounge around the room on that sofa.
And that's important because you spend, or at least we spent a lot more time in our stateroom than we thought that we would be. And so trying to relax not on the bed was pretty much not an option. So point number 4, seasickness actually was not a huge problem. I personally have really bad GI issues. I get motion sickness all the time from the slightest rides. And so I really did think that I was going to have a big problem with seasickness, especially since it was raining throughout the cruise time. So I tried to get a scopolamine patch, but I couldn't. It wasn't actually as available as I thought it would be. And so I settled for Dramamine and Zofran and some antihistamines, and I really didn't even need it. There was only one day where the weather was really bad and we were closer to port that I kind of felt it, and so I took the Zofran and I was fine. But otherwise, I didn't even feel like I was on a ship.
Yeah, the only time for me that I felt any sort of nausea or vertigo was when we went to the gym and worked out. And running on a treadmill while you're on a ship that's moving with, like some light to heavy waves is a little disorienting. But apart from that, no issues.
So, point number 5, the shows are just okay. Another thing that I personally was looking forward to being on a cruise were the shows. I thought that there would be Vegas style, Broadway style shows that were really entertaining, and they just kind of skived the mark. Similar to the food, they were okay, but they just weren't great. There was one standout performer who had a great singing voice, but otherwise it was just kind of eh. So wasn't impressed with the shows. Number 6, there is a long line for pizza after hours if you get hungry. So there's only 2 options for food after hours, which are pizza and ice cream.
And after hours, of course, everyone seems to want to eat at the same time. So after I think it was like 8 or 9 o'clock is when like the buffet style and the eating times and all that stuff died down, and the only thing that you had was the pizza and ice cream. And everybody goes to get pizza at the same time, so you're going to be in line for an extended period, which is unfortunate. One thing I will note though is believe room service was 24 hours. So if you wanted to have room service food delivered to your stateroom, you could, but you're limited in the things that you could get.
And the room service food wasn't warm for the most part, or it was like only warm up until a certain time period. So
Yeah, they were like, I think it was like a peanut butter jelly sandwich. It
yeah,
was, like light
very
food,
basic
like
food.
snackish type food.
Yeah. Point number 7, the safety briefing at the beginning of the cruise. If you've never gone on one before, I don't know exactly what it's called, but basically they line everybody up. They show them what to do in case of an emergency, how to put on a life vest and things of that nature, where to go based off of your room if there is an emergency. But it takes forever, and you're standing outside, they're screaming at you to get in line. Like it was awful.
So we can't knock them into do it because, of course, safety is very important. But again, this is just a list of things that we didn't know headed onto the cruise. So just be prepared to stand for an extended period of time for that.
Number 8, pay attention to your eating time. When you get your sail card for your Carnival cruise, you will have your eating time listed on there. And so you can have early dining, late dining, flexible dining, whatever. And you are only able to eat during that time. If you are not happy with your eating time, there's a chance that you might be able to change it. But if you can't, you're locked into that eating time every day of the cruise.
Which is a little unfortunate because, what if you're not necessarily hungry at one point in time when you have your eating time? Then you essentially are forced to eat at that point. So it's just a little, I understand the logistics behind why they do it so everybody's not running to eat at the same time. But again, just something that we didn't know.
Number 9, gratuity is not included in the base price.
So, of course, the cruise is all inclusive. So your food, stateroom, all of that stuff is paid for. However, if you go to a place where you're during your eating time, or at a restaurant or room service, or I'm not sure if the buffet style is included because technically there's no waiter, but anything like that where you get a bill, sort of to say,
or receive a special service or something.
Right, there's gratuity that's added onto that, and so you use your stateroom sort of to pay for that. So then at the end of the cruise, or like a day before the cruise, you get a bill of receipt on the application where it'll show you how much gratuity you're charged and what you're expected to pay. So it's a little bit of an eye opener because if again this is your first time cruising, you've never done this before, and then now you see you're being charged, or you're supposed to be charged like 100, 150 bucks, whatever the case may be, then that can be a little I don't want to say scary, but it could just catch you off guard. Of course, you don't necessarily have to pay. Gratuity it's whatever you want to pay, so you can go down, you can have that adjusted, but you should pay because that's really how, like, the janitorial service, how everybody basically gets a cut of that. So it's not just your experience with food, but even when they go and they clean up your room when you're going out of your stateroom to go somewhere else, and just the overall, I guess, the cleaning services, they all take a piece of that. So you should pay. So the last point to make is that excursions do not have to be booked through Carnival or through whatever cruise line you're going through. Since this is our first time doing it, of course, as soon as we signed up for the cruise, we saw that there were a bunch of different excursions, and so we purchased through them. Of course, it's a little bit more reputable because it's going directly through Carnival Cruise, but once you disembark or you get at your point of destination, you can get off and do excursions with anyone, and you'll probably end up spending less money, because there was one excursion, we didn't do it because it ended up raining, but they offered like where jet ski was offered, and it was a lot cheaper than what we saw online, but we didn't do it because it was raining.
But definitely take advantage of the excursions. That was probably the best part of our trip. We got to go ATVing in the middle of the jungle. We got to know a bunch about the Mayan history and things like that. So I think that the excursions are definitely worth your while. So those were our top 10 things that we wish we would have known before our first Carnival cruise. So go ahead and hit that comment section. Let us know what your thoughts are. Did you have shared experiences? Do you have more tips and tricks, more life hacks for cruises? Leave them in the comment section. Also, don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button so that you never miss more of Team H Travels.
Team H Travels signing off. See you guys in the next video.